I love that cute little intro that John Rains did for us. Thank you, John. And happy Pride, everyone. Welcome to Queer Culture Club. This is our monthly short format interview series that focuses on LGBTQ people who are defining the queer culture of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. My name is Terry Beswick, and I'm the host and moderator of the Queer Culture Club. And so every second Thursday each month, we interview queer culture makers, including authors, playwrights, historians, activists, artists, and archivists to learn about their work process, inspirations, hopes, and dreams. So this is the Pride Month, June installment of Queer Culture Club. And tonight I'm very honored to have two special guests, the leaders behind San Francisco Pride, the board president, Carolyn Wysinger, and executive director, Fred Lopez. So managing this event every year is always an enormous challenge, an enormous undertaking. And Lopez and Wysinger will talk with me and answer any questions that anybody pops into the chat about how they're steering Pride celebrations in San Francisco during this second year of the COVID-19 pandemic. So let me introduce the guests with brief bios. So Fred Lopez, he, him, his, is the executive director of San Francisco Pride. He has spent 20 years working in LGBTQ nonprofits for organizations working in HIV prevention, gay bi men's health promotion, and community health care, and much more. Carolyn Wysinger, she, her, hers, has worked fiercely in the LGBT community in a plethora of capacities. As a blogger, she has written timely and insightful articles for blogs such as Autostraddle, Everyday Feminism, Black Girl Dangerous, and Media Diversified. As an author, Carolyn published her first book, Nocturnal Emissions, spelled Knock, K-N-O-C-K, Ternal Emissions, which has been listed on LGBTQ essential reading lists at several universities. She has also served on the steering committee for Black Lesbians United, the board for the NIA Gathering for Same Gender Loving Women of African Descent, and the board of Butch Voices National Conference. She is a former commissioner of human rights and relations for the city of Richmond and formerly served on the executive board of the Long Beach Lambda Democratic Club. Currently, she is the vice president of programs for the El Cerrito Democratic Club and the PAC chair of the Lambda Democratic Club of Contra Costa County. She was recently elected delegate to California Assembly District 15. So tonight's event is taking place online. Please, if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook or on YouTube, you just put your comments in the chat, and we'll try to bring them into the show here. So with that, let me bring on my guests, Fred and Carolyn.
Hi.
Hi, Fred. Hi, Carolyn. Thanks for taking a little bit of time out for me and the GLBT Historical Society tonight. It's great to see you all. And first, before we start, I just want to, thank you both for your work, your many decades of work in San Francisco, which I only touched the surface, of course, of, and I know that the work that you do is a daily effort, and you have a vision, and you're carrying it out. So on behalf of the community, I just want to thank you for that. And also just acknowledge that this last couple of years, Carolyn, you've been board chair for 2 years now, right?
Yes.
Just your luck, right in the middle of a pandemic, huh?
And that's what it will say about me in the history book, I'm sure.
And Fred, you became executive director just as the pandemic was coming down, right?
Yeah, I accepted the role in January, and so what, 6 or 12 weeks or 10 weeks later or something, we all shut down. Yeah.
So now, both of you, when you came into these positions, you must have had some vision of what Pride could be under your tenure, right? I don't want to get depressing here, but
yeah.
It's like you must have had some concept, just as we all did. I mean, we had some dreams for 2020, and those were quickly dashed. Yeah. So how did you adjust?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a stab, Carolyn. I think what's interesting is last year, as the pandemic was taking hold, remember that we were heading into the 50th anniversary of Pride. So there was an increased expectation, I guess, about sort of where we were heading. And I think, when I took the job, I'm not, I'm going to be real honest with y'all. Like when I took the job, it was just, that was it. Like that was just getting through Pride 50 was like, let's pull all of these many elements together and make it as great as possible. And then sort of see where we go from there. I'm really privileged to have a fantastic team. And, we've grown over the last, 16 months. And I think the vision is evolving and changing under our feet. I don't think that we expected that we wouldn't have a parade this year. I think we were like, 2021, we'll obviously have a parade. And so, we have been as, responsive to all of the changes as possible. I think for me, the vision of Pride is to honor its history and the scope and the magnitude of what we have been able to achieve in many years leading up to 2019, but acknowledge that, the Pride movement is shifting, and what our communities want out of Pride and how they sort of express their pride is changing, and I think, I think in the 90s and early 2000s, it was still a time and when having a large company be represented in the Pride Parade felt like a win, felt like something that was, a recognition of our community as important. And now we're hearing something different, that we want a different type of relationship from big companies and the way in which they represent themselves in events, particularly around the Pride Parade and what that means for our community members. So I think that vision is evolving and changing. And it's, it's scary, it's big, it's hard to keep up with, but I'm really pleased with, I'm privileged to have a good board and a good team to sort of help support us as we figure that out together.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful to have both of you on the show. Carolyn, so taking this role, at the helm of Pride, and I think there is a special sort of role that the chair of the Pride Board has versus some other nonprofits. It's you're really, trying to straddle, I don't know what metaphor to use to describe. I was thinking of for the LGBTQ community, but it's just so incredibly diverse, so many opinions about, what Pride should be and what it has been historically, what it represents today. And Fred touched a little bit on that, but, how do you sort of manage all those constituencies, especially in light of the pressures you're under right now?
Who said that I managed it? No, I'm just I mean,
I know it's a team effort, I know, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it is difficult for several reasons, and I remember when I first came or became the president of the board, and Fred would always fuss, and not just Fred, a couple of people would always fuss at me. I would always, because of my political background, I would say, the Pride bylaws and everything about the organization is structured like a city council. And they're like, Carolyn, it's not like, I'm like, yes, it is. Like, read our bylaws again. Look at the expectations of the board. Look at the expectations of the president. And then for me, I always think about, I have to remember historically, and you probably know this better than I, Terry, but looking back on the ways and the reasons that Pride itself was created, I always say that it was created to give LGBTQ people increased social, cultural, and even political power, as we saw with the election of Supervisor Harvey Milk. So that's one component, because you have a lot of folks who see things like we did on Monday, with the mayor, and see the close relationship that we have to have. I'm not saying that we don't want to have it, but saying the close proximity that we do have with the mayor and with the senator, who are our only out senator, our out treasurer, and all those kind of things. And they see it more as just a public figure type thing. And then for someone like me, who's coming from a background where, you're always advocating for people, but also now you are the chief executive officer of this organization, this multi-million-dollar organization. And like, as you said, you're trying to figure out how to take that advocacy background and still manage this organization. And then, right, just when you think that you've figured out how you're going to do that, you're saddled with a pandemic. that doesn't allow you to really do much as far as changing the way that, you know, people, oh, pride is corporate now, pride is corporate now. You know, I'll be very honest. If it was not for the relationships with corporations, there might not be a pride going into Pride 2022. And I think that there's so many nuts and bolts that a lot of folks don't understand. I saw a post today with our former board chair, Gary Virginia, kind of laying it out for a few folks, you know, who don't really understand, you know.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can say this without naming names. I'll say that there was a situation last year where people came in and they said, we want this from Pride, but we don't want it with corporate dollars. And we're like, sure, we can find some money somewhere in our budget to do this with. It's not going to be a lot, but we can find. And then they went on to say, but we want to have dancers and we want to have DJs and we want to have a bus go. I said, so you want Pride, but do you know how toilets and permits and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, me being the person that I am, I still have to remain consistent and responsive to what the reason that I'm here and the what people expect of me as a person and what I have done. So I think that I have personally learned a lot about straddling that. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it, but I'm way better than I was 2 years ago.
Well, I'm just glad to see like a smile on your face, and you know, I mean, we got to put the smile on even if we're like frustrated as all hell. But the thing is that I always say about corporate sponsorship, and Fred's heard me say this, is you know, I mean, I really feel like you know, during various presidential administrations, especially Republican ones, the corporate tax rate has been drastically cut, or there's so many loopholes that, you know, the government doesn't tax corporations at the level that they should be taxed. And as a result, the government coffers are not sufficient to fund arts and culture organizations at the level that we need. And so we are left as arts and culture organizations to go directly to the corporations and say, now you need to voluntarily make a contribution. They get something out of that. And by the way, I'm wearing my Target Pride shirt. We do not have Target sponsorship. I would like to have it if anybody from Target is watching.
Same here.
Because they have a nice lineup of Pride merchandise and they're obviously making some money and they should be giving it back. But anyway, you know, I don't mean to like turn this into sort of a beef fest about, you know, all our sort of resentments about you know, the different constituencies, because I know that you guys really value all of our community folks and their different perspectives, and that's part of what makes Pride special in San Francisco, is just all these different voices are heard. But what do you see as the wonderful thing about Pride, just broadly speaking? You know, what is Pride? What is Pride for, and why is it different and special in San Francisco versus some other cities?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think, you know, I keep returning to my first Pride, you know, and I think everybody probably remembers their first Pride, and I think it's that feeling of being seen, right? And it's that feeling of connection with folks who understand you and who can see themselves in you, and vice versa. I think it's really special, and it's hard to quantify, right? Like, I don't think that we can really put exact words to it, but I think that that's, for me, what I think is important about Pride. And I think honestly, it sort of took the pandemic to really make that sink in, because, you know, when we had to cancel the parade last year in 2020, and we scrambled, you know, like everybody else, to figure out, okay, well, what's next? What are we going to do? How you know? And we threw out a ton of ideas, and we ended up, like many others, on, you know, doing some online activation, and, you know, we did 13 hours of original programming that, you know, I think I'm really proud of our team for pulling it off. And then, you know, at the end of the weekend, I think we all sort of looked at each other, you know, through Zooms, and called each other and realized, well, I didn't really feel connected as I thought I would. And it was a little bit of a letdown. And I think that that's what really drove me, at least, to make some of the decisions that brought us to where we're at today, which was, come hell or high water, we were going to do something that brought us together in 2021. And so we started planning, in December and January, when things were much different than they are right now. And, when we started planning this thing at Oracle Park this weekend, it was honestly a pipe dream. We were like 50% sure it wasn't going to pull together, that the city wasn't going to say yes, that, we were on endless calls with public health officials, like trying to iron out like how far people were going to be from each other. Were there going to be vaccine requirements? Were there going to be testing requirements? What was like everything was just a completely new experience, and kind of trying to figure out how to make this thing at Oracle Park work. And now, the landscape is much different. We're opening up next week. And so it's a much different world now than it was even a couple months ago. But I mean, to answer your original question, yes, visibility and connection is really what I think is special about San Francisco.
Right. And Carolyn, I'd love to hear your response to that too. But, I mean, we're year 51 now since the first Pride in San Francisco. And by the way, thank you both for sponsoring our exhibit last year.
Yeah.
And it's actually, and we were going to do this exhibit, one at the museum and one in the basement of City Hall, about, the history of San Francisco Pride. And those ended up just being online, of course, which was very last minute. But they're still there. That's the cool part about it, is that they're still there, and they're still beautiful, and the history is still available on our website at glbthistory.org. But Carolyn, just to put a point on this question, after all this time, it's like, I mean, I've been going to Pride for decades, and I just always assume it's just going to happen, and I kind of begin to take it for granted. I shouldn't say me in particular, because I always volunteer to do something for Pride, but but I think a lot of people do, as they, with community organizations, and they're like, why do I have to pay something at the donation gate when it's the thing, or why do I have to pay, what is the ticket price for the Pride movie night? It's
we have
20,
$20, $25. There's some $50 ones. Yeah.
Okay. So, and have the pods sold?
Well, yeah, we've sold a few of the pods. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Almost all of them. So yeah.
All right. Cool. But Carolyn, why should Pride matter to people enough that they should support it?
I mean, I think about, I am a kid who is from the Bay Area, from Richmond, California, but who never until I was adult went to San Francisco Pride for a couple of reasons. I'm a church kid. The Pride Parade is on the fourth Sunday. That was the Sunday that I ushered at church. So no, I was not going to. I was not going to Pride, but also it was never a thought. It was not something that I even thought about. It was, as a kid, even though I knew intuitively that I was gay, it was not something that I even thought that far into. And I remember after I did move back to the Bay Area in 2008 or something, no, 2013, I'm losing my days. And I was working at volunteering at the Rise Youth Center here in Richmond, and we took some kids to Frameline. Because Frameline gives out tickets to different screenings, and they had given the Rise Youth Center tickets to one of the youth screenings. And these kids had never been to San Francisco, and they had never been to the Castro. And I remember one of the kids, a boy who was a cis boy, who was so excited to go to Hot Cookie, because that was the day. Can I say this on your show, Terry?
You can go, girl. Yes. That
was the day they had penis cookies. And so he goes and he buys him a penis cookie, and he's like running up to the bus like, I got a dick. And I'm like, on the one hand, as a teacher, you're like, we should stop that. But at the same time, I understood that he had never been around so many queer people. He had never been in a space where it was just like rainbows and, men walking down the street holding hands. And this was in 2013. So I think that Pride is important for so many different reasons. I tell folks a lot of the time that, of course, it's the one time that all of our communities come together in that one space. It's the one time where at least we try to give visibility to each and every community via our cultural and community stages. And for some folks who it is their first Pride, whatever the year is, whatever their age is, rather, it's important that that big monstrous thing is in City Hall, because it's not just that it's there, but it's so huge. Like for kids who didn't grow up in San Francisco, it's amazing to see that level of visibility for queer stuff. So, you know, that's why it's important. I think now also as an administrator of Pride, and you know, in this year where 2021, where no one knows what's really going to happen, Pride Sunday, I'm understanding also how Pride really becomes the beacon or the galvanizing force for all of these, whether it's against us or for us. Everyone organizes around this one event, and it helps the city soak up so much energy. So that's one thing that I have really, really learned, is how important it is as just a light, a guiding force in the city for Pride during that time.
Yeah, I've been thinking. Thank you for that. I've been thinking about the impacts that we can't really see around not having how many people come to Pride the last few years?
1.5 million? Is it 1 or 1.5 million?
Oh yeah,
somewhere in there.
It's closer to 1, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, just of not having it, and I've just kind of been reflecting on, you know, the marches on Washington that we had, and you know, I didn't go to the one in '79, but I went to the one in '87, and helped to organize that in Northern California, and then there was the one in '93 where I was living in DC already, but there was always a debate in organizing those. Is it better to like organize a march and have everybody, you know, take their hard-earned money to travel and stay somewhere in Washington, D.C. to express our political power? Or is it better to stay local and do local activities? And, you know, and I kind of feel like, you know, that we sort of need both, you know?
Yeah.
But just the impact of all those people coming together, their organizations, to do contingents and to watch each other and just learn about the different organizations. You know, that seems, you know, how do you measure the impact of something like that? I mean, you know, and not having it, you know.
I think I don't know how to answer that. I think it's immeasurable, really. I mean, I think we feel it, you know, we it's still hard for people to really conceive of Pride without a parade. And, you know, I think it's been a difficult year for all of us, right? For many nonprofits in particular. And for us, you know, we've had a hard time sort of explaining what we do, what we are, without the parade. And so, you know, we've expanded our programming. We have SF Pride 365 programming now, and we have podcasts and you know, video chats like this. And so, you know, obviously I think we're all being pushed to really expand how we activate our missions. And I think that's good, but I think you're right, Terry. I think that what I've noticed is a great opportunity to be able to do both of those things, to really to bring that connection to our local San Francisco communities, and really have those opportunities to celebrate one another and to really see the achievements and celebrate the achievements that we've made, but to also open our doors wide and to invite everybody from around the world to come and experience what a special and amazing place San Francisco is. And I think the ways that we can do that, you know, I can't do that this year necessarily, but I have big plans for next year. You know, I think, you know, broadening, we've already started trying some of this stuff out, like broadening from one weekend rather to multiple weekends throughout June. I think, you know, finding ways in which to, instead of, you know, in addition to the amazing community stages that we have, you know, in Civic Center, really seeing like maybe a stage is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like maybe we have the Latin stage, you know, has been a fixture, and Soul of Pride stage has been a fixture. What if we have a Latin event, you know, that's the weekend before or 2 weekends before? I mean, I think Carolyn and I have these discussions all the time on the phone, kind of figuring out like how do we grow? Like how do we take what we've learned from this pandemic and and the shutdown, you know, not being able to do what we normally do, and how do we turn that into opportunity and finding ways to do what we do better, and you know, only time can tell.
Yeah, so everything's been scrambled, and you know, you can keep doing. I mean, honestly, I always felt like, you know, Pride is such an institution, and it's kind of a machine, and you know, the traditions continue year after year, and we do it this way because this is the way we always did it, and now it's like wide open, right?
My butt, Terry.
What's that?
I'm about to make a whole bunch of people mad. That's always been the boil in my butt, because I think that, you know, traditions and institutions are so important, but I think that sometimes we get so used to the institutions and traditions that we cannot grow. And I unfortunately have seen that so much in our community, from all sections of the community, to be quite honest. And I think, you know, let me not give specific examples, but I'll say that there's been a lot of times when I say, Fred, this is not Dr. Fred. This is not about Fred. But I say, Fred, we need to do this. And he's like, oh, Carolyn, we're going to make such and such mad if we do that. And I'm like, Fred, we need to do this for the community. He's like, oh, Carolyn, you're going to make this group over here mad. You're going to make this group over here mad. And they've been here since 1972. And I'm like, I love them that they've been here since 1972. But my God, it's 21.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. So imagining Pride in 2022. I mean, we got some time for that. You guys got to get through now. So tell me a little bit more about this weekend. What can we expect?
Oh my goodness, so exciting. I actually was at Oracle Park all day today. We loaded in for our movie nights. Tomorrow night, we're screening In the Heights, the new Lin-Manuel Miranda musical, directed by a Bay Area native, John Chu. And we hear John Chu's family will be in attendance. We're super excited about it. This is in partnership with Frameline, our friends over at Frameline and Giants Enterprises. And Saturday night, we're screening a movie called Everybody's Talking About Jamie, and it's a special sneak preview. It's a musical, another musical about a boy in high school in working class UK who dreams of becoming a drag queen, and so then sort of brings his friends and family along for the ride. And so it's one of those feel good, you know, queer movies that you know, is just everybody's gonna hopefully love it. So yeah, we're super excited. And before the movies even begin, we're bringing the spirit of the parade and the celebration as much as we can to Oracle Park. So, you know, we got special permission from the Giants to let the Dykes on Bikes ride around on the field. So you will see Dykes on Bikes riding on the
big deal. For all you non-sports people, that's a really big deal, because they don't let you walk on the field.
Mm-hmm. That's my favorite part of the parade. That seems so cool. I mean, you know, they had the pink triangle thing. You guys were there the other night, and I just loved that. You know, they carried the torch up the hill, and it was. I thought, oh, okay, we got a little bit of pride parade going on here, you know. But that's amazing. How many Dykes and Bikes are going to be tooling around the?
There will be 45 motorcycles to commemorate this is the 45th anniversary of Dykes on Bikes. So this year, so 45 motorcycles are going to make their way around the field. It's going to be pretty amazing. And let's see, tomorrow evening we have RuPaul's Drag Race star Rock'em Sakura is joining us as one of our hosts. And on Saturday evening, another Ru girl, Bianca Del Rio, is joining us.
My favorite. Okay.
Yeah, so she's going to be there, as well as Bianca Simone, Sir Jock, Spice Queers. There's so much local talent and performance that we are going to be featuring. Brianna Sinclair is going to be singing for us. Freddie is going to be singing for us. So we are really packing in as much as we can into a short amount of time before the movie even begins. And so that's exciting.
It's a fun party, basically. So I just want to, like, anybody who's watching, and we're going to post this for others to watch as well. Anybody that's watching, please check it out. Just go to the website, sfpride.org/movie night. It's about having fun for Pride this year, and it's also just about supporting this community institution that has been so important to us for 51 years in San Francisco, so that we can have a fabulous Pride in 2022. So, you know, don't just check it out, but share it with your friends on social media. Put together a little gang and go tomorrow night or the next night or both.
Yeah. And then we're also working with the AAACC next week to do a Juneteenth Eve event. So if you go to our website, you'll learn more about that. It's on Friday, June 18th. We're super excited for that as well.
Very excited about that.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. Tell me more about that offline, and you know, we'll try to share that on our channels also. That's great.
Perfect.
You know, so this is a short format. I would love to talk to you guys more, and you know, we'll do this again. So
sounds good.
It's great to have you. Thank you so much for your time and for all your work.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank Lee Pfeffer very much for doing our tech behind the scenes. And next month, we're going to have Cal Callahan, who's the district manager for the Leather and LGBTQ Cultural District, talking to us about all things leather. So thank you all.
Love it. Happy Pride, everybody. Thank you for having us.